is Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
What a way to start this week. 3 games on tap for the Toronto Maple Leafs this week. If Sammy had anything to complain about last week with lack of activity, with just, 2 games last week, a Wednesday and a Saturday, we are going to get shot out of a cannon coming off their 3-1 deficit. Saturday night, the Toronto Maple Leafs beat the Oilers 7-4, and they're right back at it against the Buffalo Sabres tonight. Colorado on Wednesday, Carolina on Friday, Ottawa on Saturday.
Hockey.
There's not enough time in 2 hours, Sammy, this week.
Well, just on a non-hockey note, I know we were keeping our tradition alive of starting with non-sports hockey stuff, but this one's for Bourne, who's a diehard Jets fan, and this is from Trey Wingo, who's a very reputable source on Twitter, that hearing Aaron Rodgers to the Jets is done. History about to repeat itself in New York and Green Bay because, of course,
I very nearly bought a Brett Favre jersey once upon a time.
Time is indeed a flat circle, says Trey Wingo.
Wow.
So, there you go,
boys. I saw Mike White signed in Miami.
Yeah.
What do you think, pal? You're all Jets. Is this a good thing, or is this just a over the hill ad? Is this Marlowe to the Leafs?
No, it's not. No,
well,
it's
Marlowe,
absolutely
he's
not.
pretty good his first year. He's pretty good his first year.
It feels like Marlowe to the Leafs.
I like it. I like it because watching the Jets for all these years, there's nothing to cheer for. The most successful quarterback they've had in 20 years is Mark Sanchez. You know, it's been lean times. At least I'll feel like Aaron Rodgers knows what he's supposed to be doing.
I watch a lot of football like I do every year, and their quarterback play legitimately sewered them in like 7 games last year. So
painful.
Can't be worse.
Can't be worse. Okay,
there you
great
go.
news. Thank you.
No problem.
We're glad everybody's aboard on the next 2 hours here. Where are we? Are we on Sportsnet 590 The Fan, or are the Jays sucking the air out of us again?
No, there we are on the air today.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear.
We're on the air today. Yeah.
We are on Sportsnet's YouTube channel, Sportsnet Now, iTunes, Spotify, our YouTube channel. Already, what do we have? Like 300 people waiting today. I mean, they're chomping at the bit.
Buddy, these Leafs are exciting. Stuff's happening. Is it good stuff? Well, most of it is.
Did we feel that way down 3-1 to the Connor McDavid Edmonton Oilers Saturday night? Or, Sammy, were you cursing somewhat?
I had a lot of texts from a lot of friends saying some things that they probably would like to take back.
At that time.
At that point. Yeah, listen, I thought the Leafs played pretty well. Even up until the 3-1 point, I thought they got some pretty suspect goaltending, and then Connor McDavid with that pretty brilliant play where he blows by McCabe, slips at 5-hole. Still a goal you want for Murray, but I thought that they played really well the whole game. They're just 2 mistakes they went into their net. So I was pretty pleased with the effort all around. I have to be honest.
Kipper, curious to hear your take. How do you feel throughout the night?
Didn't like what I saw out of Matt Murray, I can tell you that.
Oh, man.
And that one, regardless of how this thing played out, was the question. Listen, both teams, again, mirroring each other with superstars and guys that can carry the offense. And then somewhat of a questionable defense.
Yeah.
And then we're the goaltending.
Yeah.
We're on both sides. Mirror.
Yeah. I can see it. I can see it for sure. And it makes for exciting hockey. Like, that's a fun game when goals can happen at any second and lead changes. But yeah, both teams going into playoffs be like, we have a Stanley Cup contending team, provided we get saves. And on Saturday night, no one really got saves. So Matt Murray played better throughout that game, according to his own coach, and is going to play again tonight. I'm jumping ahead of myself a little bit there, but really fascinating to me that they saw that and said, I know Samsonov is apparently not 100%, but
we got a lot to dive into with the goaltending here. So we'll just start off this week real early with Sheldon Keefe's first Kyper's Clipper on Matt Murray.
Matt will go tomorrow. Like I said, I think it's just, there's a couple things at play. We got a lot of hockey this week, so both goalies are going to play. But I do think it's important for Matt to get a little bit more consistency in the net rather than large gaps between starts. again, maybe influenced by the fact that I thought he got better through the game last night. So there's that. We're going to use both guys, and Sammy's not quite at 100% right now either. So it's just a little bit, it makes a little more sense for me to give him a little more time and get Murray some more consistency in the net.
This kind of has me a little worried for them.
Yeah. Like big picture or just
Big
tonight?
picture.
Yeah. So a couple things about that. Are you worried that they want him to be the starting goalie? That Murray is going to get hurt? That Murray isn't very good? What are your concerns?
The concerns is both of them can handle a heavy workload.
Yeah.
Which means that you're going to try to get through the first couple of rounds bouncing between them. Like a couple of games here, a couple of games there. Like Samsonov right now is not 100% healthy. Like it's not one definitive thing that puts them down. It's like these little things, and he's kind of shrugging it off. Like he's not quite 100%. It's like, why?
What is he? Yeah.
Why is he not? Like nobody's quite 100%.
No, it's March.
You don't announce everybody not being 100%. What is with these guys that they can't just play?
It does seem like one of those things where game one of the playoffs he probably could, but I think they want Murray to get some run. And everything I see and hear and read and whatever from around the team, like you get this sense, and we started the season saying this, they want Matt Murray to be the goalie. They want him to figure it out and be right about him, the Sioux guy with the 2-year deal and the higher risk contract. They want him to be the winner in the end of this contest.
I don't want to put this in the universe, but it's something that's been floating around my mind ever since Murray came back, and I saw that started on Saturday, and the fact they're going back to him tonight, I got a bad feeling that Keefe's going to start Matt Murray in a big playoff game when he potentially shouldn't, and it's going to cost him.
He's going to play him at the wrong time.
I don't care what you think. Just tell me, do you think that starting game one?
Yeah. Listen, there's a long runway until then for him to get playing well, but I am, regardless of how well he plays down the stretch here, I'm still going to be terrified of that.
The one case I can see for playing Matt Murray tonight is the goal that bothered me most last night is different than most people, I think. It's the Draisaitl one-timer where he has time to laterally get across, but his leg isn't extended. So there's like this on-the-ice room between the post and the toe. Like it's just...
it was horrible. The wraparound was horrible, too.
It was because he extended so much in the first place. But for me, the getting across in the Draisaitl one is so bad that maybe it's rust. Maybe he's not playing enough because that's not even NHL goaltending where you come across and your legs tucked under or whatever he was doing there. So maybe it is rust and he just needs to play a bit and he'll find it again.
I thought with a trade deadline and just the waving of the white flag a little bit by Kyle and the management team to say, we're not tough enough. We're not gritty enough.
Yeah.
That there was a bit of humility there to come to terms with that. And it's not quite the team that we envisioned in the last few years on skill, and speed and, puck possession and all of that. And now I'm finding them kind of stubborn on this one a little bit.
With Murray.
Yes.
It's a good point. They did give on the skill thing, skill obsession for some grit. Yeah, maybe it's stubborn. But you only have two.
But now
you got to get them sharp.
But now you're really emphasizing that we got to get Matt Murray going, and I'm okay with that. But is it going to be pushed towards our focus is that he starts game one?
I hope not.
And if that's the case, then I don't agree with it.
I know. It's funny because you've been hoping that they would just pick a horse. And the horse that has been winning the race by many lengths is Samsonov on the season, both in terms of health, durability, success, making saves. So the fact that Murray goes tonight, to me, is just hopefully the couple influences, get him games in a row, get Samsonov back, and then they go back to Sammy being the guy on a 2-1 game flip.
We saw Samsonov go down and warm up the other night. We saw him go down the game before, getting
wonder
up
if that was related.
gingerly. And I'm okay if you need to go back to Matt Murray because the other guy is nursing something. That's just a natural thing to do. But again, if it's to now get him ready, and the emphasis is that Samsonov, you were never supposed to be our number one starting goalie.
Yeah.
And that we're still going to jam this square peg in this round hole, then I'm not sure, but to Sammy's point, that there's enough time to ever convince that he is ready for game one, because despite how he looks on the ice, there's that trust factor that I don't think he has enough time to grab.
I agree. Yeah, no, it's 17 games left now, something like that. Like, it's getting towards the time where you just want things to look solid. On that note, things of the lineup have not looked solid. They have went back to 11-7. You and I have talked about it a number of times and hadn't loved it. Initially, we didn't like it. He didn't like it. Have you changed your tune at all on seeing them at 11-7?
No. And I know it's a short sample size, but Gustafsson hasn't shown me enough that he warrants to be in the lineup.
They really want to keep him happy.
Really want to keep him happy.
Like, they are clearly doing what they're doing so Gustafsson doesn't feel left out. Like, they traded for him to put him in the press box. But what they did was they traded for him to put him in the press box. Right? During playoffs. That's why he's here. He's a security blanket. And they don't want him to know that, maybe?
Yeah. Well, he's going from playing literally 23 minutes a night to going into the press box. Maybe they think that's a little bit too much for him to handle, but I don't know. Listen, you're not softening at all on 11-7.
I like this. I like that they're able to get out super lines more. There are more situations where you got to create a line and you go, okay, we can get Marner with Tavares and Matthews. We can get, O'Reilly, Tavares, and, Nylander, whatever. I like that you can create super lines here and there. So that's good. I do think that it becomes very consuming for the coach and the players, always thinking about who am I with. It's different than the last shift. The coach is always looking for what sort of situation they're in, who's got gas. It's just a lot to me, rather than just letting your guys play hockey and focus on the hockey. It's all personnel.
Yeah, it really forces, instead of finding just this rhythm, and a 60-minute game is a rhythm. What it does now is it makes it takes the rhythm into the hands of Sheldon every shift.
It is.
And
you're always looking back.
Instead of watching
players
the game, are looking back.
Who we got?
Right? It's like which bingo bangle ball comes up. And the fans, and then I'm sure the broadcast will now watch every shift like it's what's he going to do now.
Yeah.
I just don't think that the emphasis should be so much on Sheldon now moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what 11-7 does. It's like it's a game within a game now on Sheldon. Who are you going to put out, and what do we think of that last shift?
Well, and as a result, I have no idea what I think of any one line. Like, I can't be like, all right, since they've traded for these guys, I've enjoyed this look, because you only see it a couple of times. They might get hemmed in their own zone. They might have a good shift. That doesn't tell me anything over, what to expect from them over the larger sample. So why don't we listen to Sheldon? Sheldon weighed in on then going 11-7.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we also got to make a decision. I mean, we might discover through this, and we just might be better at 11-7. I mean, we'll see how it goes. Like I said, I think look at how things have gone for us here of late, and you can see some of the positives coming out of it. I think it's important that we're not just locked into 12-6, because I have seen some really good things for us. So there's our own game. I referred to the other night in Edmonton that we were 12-6 and we were struggling, and at 11-7 the Oilers were rolling over top of us. Tampa Bay Lightning went 11-7 throughout 2 Stanley Cup runs. I mean, so I think to just sit here and say 12-6 is absolutely the way that you have to play, I don't think that's fair to our group. We've got way more depth on defense than we've ever had.
Love to go back to his initial clip on what do you think of 11-7 from 2 weeks ago when he said,
Don't love it.
I don't like it. I don't love it. That's what he said.
Yeah.
Okay.
But now in games that they've done it in,
Hold on for a second.
they've got wins.
Yeah.
So you have that piece of evidence.
Mm-hmm.
and then you have his first few words. Derek, can we play that clip again? Just the first part.
Yeah, I think so. We also got to make a decision. I mean,
That's it. That's good. We have to make a decision. Okay, who has to make a decision? You,
Kyle and Sheldon.
Your assistant coaches,
Yeah.
or you, Kyle, and Brendan have to make a decision. Well, you know him better than us.
Yeah.
Is that on him and his coaching staff, or do you think now he speaks of making a decision to include his general manager and his president?
So I haven't seen the relationship with Brendan over the years, but previously I would say that he heard us as the other staff members in the room and considered arguments, but it would come down to him and Kyle making the call. So that would be my opinion, is that he probably means directly him and Kyle making the decision. You think that impacts the decision, as in?
Well, I'm just not sure if he's getting mixed messages on what he wants to do and what maybe Kyle wants him to do. And if that's the case, then he's going to flip-flop on it.
Yeah, I think, they'll work their best to come up with a solution they both like, and if there isn't one.
But only one guy's coaching.
Sheldon will do what he wants in the end.
It's got to be addicting, though, when you're using a certain style of lineup and it starts to win.
Yeah.
You're automatically going to start liking it more.
Yeah, but
right?
I'm like, okay, so should they play Steves, Holmberg, and McMahon like the games they won with those guys in?
No, you're right.
There's a point where you go, okay, but is it
but
the
they
best
have,
for us?
Well, I think it's just the fact that they have better forwards, but they have less of them with O'Reilly out, and they have the defensemen. Like, at this point, I don't mind it because they're winning, and I'm a fan of the team, and I like when they win, and, they looked good on Saturday night.
Yeah.
It's just the only thing that concerns me about it is the lack of rhythm and lack of establishing stuff going into against a team who is very established with their lines and they know what they are. Like, indecision and trying to reinvent the wheel going in against Tampa is not something that's appealing to me.
No.
Well, and you made these trades. You got so much better on the bottom six.
Oh, yeah.
And I wrote last week, why do you want to turn a good bottom six into a good bottom five?
Yeah.
And Nola Chara was excellent again.
Yeah.
We've called it from day one. You want to throw up the Joey Andersons and throw Mulligans up there and make it look like a 4-month training camp for fourth-line players, or you just want to go out there and get the real deal?
Yeah.
Nola Chara's the real deal.
Mulligan, by the way, has 3 goals in his last 4 games to the Avalanche.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Just wanted to put that out there.
That's
That means
great.
0.
Yeah.
Just wanted to put that out there for you.
It means 0 to us. Okay. But
Yeah.
you'd think that in the playoffs, you'd want 3 guys just to know their roles, know their job, know their lane and how they're going to contribute. And I just don't know if bouncing around constantly is going to help them prepare.
I do think they'll find it. My prediction, they go 12-6 to start the playoffs. This is like the Gustafsson, the way that we've talked about last week, getting everyone acclimated, comfortable, to feel important. You're a part of this whole thing. You don't want him having his pouty pants on already. I still think they go to 12-6 in the end. The Achari experience has truly been unbelievable since he's been here. I mean, there's good stats. Jonas Siegel had it in his Monday morning thing today. Since he's been here 10 games, he has 4 less hits than Engvall had all year when he was here in the bottom 6.
Really?
Which is baffling. But
is that
3 goals, 20 shots, 35 hits, 9 block shots, expected goals at 64%.
Well,
very good.
Go figure.
Well, that's the thing. It's when you, like, we talked about this all last year with them trying former first-line guys as fourth-line guys.
Marlowe and Spezza.
What would you
Thornton.
say?
And Joe Thornton and
here.
all these guys, and that they tried Simmons as well. And then they go and get guys that are defined bottom 6 guys that know exactly what their role is. And it's like, Keefe is over the moon about this guy.
Yeah.
Like,
you think?
over the moon.
Let's have
There's
a
2
listen.
separate clips on Achari.
Let's have a listen
do a
to
couple of
how
We'll do
over
the first
the
one.
moon
Yes.
he is.
Mitch, Austin, Willie, John, they're all on the board here tonight. I thought Nola Chara was unbelievable in all regards in the game. Scored, defended, physical, generated scoring chances. He was excellent. So I thought it's a good team win against a very good hockey team.
He's like, sure, the guys worth $40 million were good, but did you see Nola Chara? Whoo, boy.
Do you want to hear the second Nola Chara clip?
Does he have a contract next year?
No, not yet.
Yeah,
He
does as of this morning.
just got $4 million from Sheldon.
Do you want to hear the second one?
Yeah.
All right.
I'd say it's what I expected in terms of, how physical he is, how strong he is on his feet, how he's like just a gamer that does whatever it takes to win. I would say some of the offensive pieces have. I mean, I know he's scored 20 goals before and all of that, and he has the ability to do that. But he's also he's made plays, he's generated shots, he's getting in behind defenders, he's taking the puck to the net. So he's doing little things there that show some great capacity for us, lower in our lineup to be able to play against anybody, be a guy that's no fun to compete against, and chip in for us offensively. So it's obviously a very important player.
There are some that believe that you should never fall in love with your players. But
it's love at first sight.
too late. It's too late for Sheldon.
But that is an education in what they've been missing and what he's just been coveting, right?
Yeah.
Like he likes skill too, but he's like, how come other teams get to run into people? I want one of those.
Yeah. And it's nice to have a guy in the bottom. I've been impressed with him big time. So
That's special.
that's special.
They were the goal was a typical fourth line goal.
Great fourth line
right?
goal.
And give
From below the
Aston
goal
Reese-
line.
I thought Camp was really good Saturday night
Did ya?
too. Yes. Just they grinded. They were down, but they grinded.
Yeah.
And it was
Get it to the net.
again a more playoff type of look.
The one guy that strikes me as odd, it's odd to have a fourth liner who seems to need a kick in the pants. Usually those are the desperate hanging on guys who you can trust the work ethic. But seeing how good Aston Reese has been since he's had guys to kind of motivate him and make him worried about his job a bit, you're getting a much better Aston Reese in my estimation than you did pre-Achari, pre-Lafferty. So that's been a nice added bonus.
So how about we talk about the top half of the lineup now, fellas?
Did they do something Saturday night?
4 points. Mitch Marner. In Leaf history now, he is. Well, Sittler has 26. Mahovlich has 15. And Mitch, 13.
Tied with Lanny and Boreas Salming.
That's pretty good
4-point
company
game.
here.
Decent.
Yeah.
Now,
Decent.
I don't want to be that guy, I told you so, but last week I told you, for whatever reason, including Sportsnet and Hockey Night in Canada, everybody says it's Matthews versus McDavid. And I told you guys, no, it's Marner versus McDavid.
Yeah, you stuck that in at 4:52 on one of our shows.
Okay.
Yeah, I just went
What
off.
is wrong with you guys? Why do people? Is that not as sexy as Matthews versus Marner?
I think.
Matthews versus McDavid.
Listen, I think what it is it's the first overall pick thing. It's the Hart Trophy last year. It's this sort of. I think Marner has built up to this now, where he has been the least best player this year. But last year, he wasn't the least best player. Matthew was the least best player. And the year before that, Matthews was probably the least best player. But this year, it's built up to the point where, listen, it probably should be built as that, but it's just not going to be. Matthews is the first overall pick. He's a 60-goal scorer. He's the number, the more natural, the two centers, it's the more natural thing to pit them against each other. So that's what it is, Kyper. Maybe not right, but that's the way it is.
That's goofy.
No, that's not goofy. That's just what we do in this business. That's our whole thing.
Yes. You create fake news.
Yeah, bingo.
Okay. But he was off the charts.
That is absolute truth. That was like when a guy retires and you go, all right, we're going to play their career highlight reel. You play 3 shifts from that game for Mitch Marner. I mean, he was unbelievable. The takeaways, he's now first in the NHL in blocked forwards among passes from Sport Logic. First in the league. I mean, to follow up the pick on McLeod with that dangle.
Did he not win the Selke Saturday night?
I mean, he again, his takeaway is unbelievable. He's definitely in the conversation. He's one of those guys.
They got to give it to old Bergeron because it's actually called the Bergeron Trophy. So they just give it to him every year.
Yeah, old Bergie. He was so good. The takeaways were unbelievable. That second period was a true showcase.
When they seemed a little dead in the
team.
water at 3-1.
Yeah, that McLeod play. What are you doing?
God,
of all the places you can go. But the risk reward is so terrible on that play.
The game now is it's okay to pass in the middle of your net.
Well, it is, but not when the guy who's been voted the best right winger in the league 2 years in a row is standing in the slot. It's maybe not the time. Maybe bang that one off the glass.
It's incredible that guys have no problem in that space to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess, McLeod's been good for them, no question. But, I mean, my ass is nailed to the bench, right?
Yeah.
Doing that years ago.
It's funny that growing up, how even if you made that play and it was successful, your coach would be like, you're having a seat. We just don't take those chances. That's, it's not worth it. And now it is. You're right. That's actually a pressure relief point on breakouts. They'll just kick it to their net front and
oof.
I know it feels uncomfortable.
But the thing is, it's like he didn't get anything on it. So I think he was obviously trying to get a nice saucer pass, cross zone, and he just kind of flubbed it. And Marner just was absolutely all over it. And that move, like you said, he almost healed it.
You know what the best part is? He's doing the spinorama, and then he makes a little stick handle to pull it back out of poke check range before he pulls it back in.
It's the footwork that blew me away.
Yeah, it's dancing in the slot. That was unbelievable. But yeah, what a showcase of what the Leafs can be at their best, right? You get goals from Auston Matthews, great game by him. He thought he was wonderful. Tavares, 2-1? He was great. Willie gets a finish. That's it, man.
I think on a narrative standpoint, which fans love and, I think do matter in the grand scheme of things, you go into Edmonton, that was last week, right? Or the week before? And you get pasted in their place, and it was probably your worst effort. That was the Bruce Springsteen night. That was like your worst effort of the night of the season. No puck pursuit, just looked awful.
Players hung over.
Your stars didn't show up at all. And then to go into a matchup on Hockey Night in Canada where, you joke about it being Marner versus McDavid or Matthews versus McDavid. It was really the Leafs' big four versus McDavid, where all of them kind of answered the bell, and I thought all of them were excellent. You talk about the bottom six and Achari being great, but I thought all four guys in the big four had really great nights, and they kind of lived up to the expectation.
Okay, that leads us into Sheldon Keefe on facing McDavid Saturday night.
I wanted to go with Matthews McDavid matchup straight up here tonight, and I think it's an opportunity for us to take the puck out of his hands and play on offense and try to make him have to defend. I thought those guys were really focused tonight, whether it's just the Oilers and Saturday night and all of that, playing against such elite players on the other side, and then we got it handed to us pretty good not long ago out in Edmonton, so all of that is fresh in our mind, and I thought the guys responded well.
Yeah, it's a different level of competition. Did you think McCabe coulda, shoulda, woulda done more on the McDavid goal when he cuts above him? How do you go laterally with him?
I dare anybody to try to do better.
Well, that's kind of the thing. It's like, he doesn't go with him, and it is his job, but
I'm glad to hear
who
you
can
say that. It's
What's
just
that?
I'm glad to hear you say that, Kipper. It was just a tip your cat moment. It's what the hell are you supposed to do?
Who can? Who can peak Duncan Keith can maybe move his feet defending laterally against?
You don't get to practice against that.
No.
You just see it on the highlight reel the night before or the night after, and then during you have to deal with it for the first time.
And if you ever done the mirror drill in a hockey camp where someone tries to mirror your shuffling laterally, whatever, it's always harder when you're a step behind already, and it's McDavid and he's a step ahead. It's
doesn't take long to get a step behind McDavid.
No, absolutely not. So did you happen to see the Morgan Reilly quote before that game where Tavares said it's exciting to play McDavid, and he was like, I wouldn't say it's exciting.
Because he played defense.
Because he played defense. I wouldn't say it's exciting.
So what'd you make of the greasy stuff in the game, Campbell?
Hold on. Did we play Keefe on Marner as well? Let's just wrap that one up.
Okay.
You need a guy to make a big play, and they cough one up, but those kind of things, although they look like a big mistake, they don't happen by accident, especially when a guy like Mitch is out there. He's reading that play, he's in the right spot. And then a big time finish too. It's just one thing to pick it off, but to finish. So yeah, he was great today, but I thought we got a lot of great efforts here tonight.
There you go.
And I put him in bubble wrap between now and game one.
Oh my God, I know.
If this guy goes down, it is over.
I know.
Over.
The thought crosses my mind, but the thing is, he never gets hit, right?
Yeah, that helps.
Yeah.
Like he has his head up all the time. Stick handles with his head up constantly.
All the things you won't jinx. You want to say that, huh?
Whatever. Listen,
I know.
I test I'm a Leaf fan. The hockey gods, what have they given me? I'll test them all day.
What have they
They've given me
What have
zero
they
my
never
whole
done for
life.
me?
Yeah, it's like, oh, you got the conference final on your thanks. I'll
Yeah.
test the hockey gods. Thank you very much.
In about 15 minutes, we're going to have Craig Simpson, former NHLer, two-time Stanley Cup champion. He's going to join us, and we'll get into what he saw Saturday night against the big matchup. We still need to get into the Buffalo Sabres. Andrew Peters, former NHLer, now part of that brand-new player cast on Sportsnet's YouTube channel. They'll be along in the second hour to join us and tee up the Sabres' chances, albeit slim, but I got to think
Running out of runway.
a must-win tonight. We'll get into Stamkos' injury, Boston dropping to Detroit. Plenty to chew on still on the Real Kyper and Bourne show. And Sammy, you're asking me about a little bit of that greasy stuff Saturday night.
Yeah. I thought it was awesome in the first shift that, Matthews throws out a little hip on McDavid. He goes down. McDavid slashes I don't think we've ever seen
the
that.
two of them going at it. Do you remember how
That's
great it was when Ovi and Sid would get into it?
Oh my God, it's the best.
And
Yeah, but that's not Austin.
Ovi and
No, that's
Sid
what I mean,
hated
right?
each other, and I truly believe that and still do.
That's why.
Those
Can
two,
you bring
they
it now on a consistent basis, that sort of edge that the Leafs now have a much,
so much.
I don't know, clearer but better look of what they're capable now of doing? Is that now in the equation? Like, go to John Tavares. His slash
Cost him $5,000.
cost him $5,000.
Just a well-spent $5,000, by the way.
Like, that's a nice look for JT.
Yeah, don't
who's
cross-check me in the
never
back
really
7th
looks
D for
like
the Oilers.
he ever gets upset or gets rattled. Like, that to me is more the animosity that playoff hockey brings.
Yeah.
More emotion out of you.
Boy, that he got his $5,000 worth on that baby. That's
Not a fun chop to take.
That
That's
was a
a
chop.
I'm
brutal.
telling you.
Right
like,
on the sweet spot.
That hurts.
That was against
Desharnais.
Desharnais. Like, I'm telling you, in my day, you follow up JT and you just crank him.
But I also feel like you wore those a lot more. I feel like I got slashed like that every other game.
Oh, no,
I don't know.
no,
Maybe it was just the ECHL.
That one could have easily broke his wrist.
Oh, for sure. It was brutal.
It was a good
great.
one.
Loved it. Full endorsement. And his coach endorses it too. I hope these guys are learning, Marner, Matthews, Nylander, if you do something egregious, what Willie elbowed a guy in the head.
Loved it.
Matthews cross-checked what's his name in the neck. Every time their coach has come out and been like, do thumbs up.
Great job, guys.
No issues. Let's hear Sheldon talking about the 5K, or Tavares on the 5K for slashing.
Clip on that. Sorry. I just put that in there. There's no clip.
Yeah, there's no clip.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my bad.
Oh, okay.
I sewered you there.
I
Yeah,
would
that's right.
have been surprised to hear him say, yeah, that was great.
Yeah, you like that? There's more where that came
$5,000.
from.
Would have
Losers.
spent 10, 15.
But I just thought that,
Oh, geez. The Blue Jay just took a baseball in the head. Sorry.
oh, really?
Yeah.
That's no fun.
At 15-5 in the seventh.
Oh,
Yeah,
my
don't
God.
need that one in my
That
brain
could-
with the bases loaded.
Squirrel.
Wasn't that like Homer Simpson did that with the bases loaded, got hit in the head?
Thanks for that.
No problem. It's nice to see Matthews do that against McDavid. And that to me was a sign that he maybe heard some stuff after that game in Edmonton,
Yeah.
where we came in here and crapped all over him for not being up to the which he wasn't. He was bad in that game and they got killed, and McDavid was way better.
This is the thing with Matthews, though. It seems like when he has cause to be motivated like that, whether it's his first game of his career or an outdoor game or going for 60 or whatever it is, he's able to find that and raise the level to the occasion. And the hope is that in playoffs that exists too. And I know it hasn't. I know it hasn't worked out the same way you'd like it to, but the hope is that there's still, that good gear shows up at the right time.
And it really was that depth of your 3 or 4 stars outplaying McDavid. I thought Leon Draisaitl had a quiet night.
Yep.
You got a gift from Matt Murray on the power play goal.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of that, there wasn't much support for him, which ultimately that's what you worry about the Edmonton Oilers, that if it's not McDavid and Draisaitl, you're like, okay, when the games count, do they have enough?
So their depth guy, or one of their guys, is Evander Kane. One of them for the Leafs is Michael Bunting. What are your thoughts on getting an embellishment call, him not fighting, Kane calling him out?
Again,
all that?
that's just Bunting that has kind of put himself in a position where he's trying to dig out.
Yeah.
And I think prior to that, he has had a quiet last couple of weeks that included his demotion and the fact that they weren't too happy with him.
Yeah.
But that to me is Bunting now just trying to find that middle.
Yeah.
Where I can't sit and not look engaged like I have in the last half a dozen games, but I don't want to go out there and
fight Evander Kane.
Not only fight Evander Kane, but
it's not a good idea.
But just put myself in a position where it looks like these moments are about me and not the team.
Yeah. It's hard, and so we have pointed out that he's kind of got the label now as the guy who does embellish and looks for calls and whatever. The refs obviously know they gave him one, but I don't hate it. Like, I feel like you said he needs to dig out from that or whatever. Maybe he's got to just dig in and be that guy. Like, that's when he's at his best, when he's Alex Burrows and he's, natter. He's not going to fight you. He's still going to drive you crazy.
You can do that as long as whatever you do from the beginning of the time that you start something to the time you finish, you don't bring a third party in. And you know who the third party is? The officials.
Well, he needs the officials, though, because he can't actually fight Evander Kane.
Well, that's a bit of an issue.
I think the third party you worry about him bringing in is like with Burrows, like, did he make Kevin Bieksa go fight people? Or, like, are you now asking Achari, Lafferty, McCabe, someone to clean up a mess if he creates it? It hasn't happened yet. But
I'm okay with everything that played out. In a perfect world, you start getting the benefit of the doubt again, but that's going to take a lot of time for Bunting to do it. Yeah. But when I say that you don't bring in a third party like the official, it's like you don't have this exchange, and then there can't be this pause when you look at the official and say, hey, call it now. And it's like, no, you just got to play it out the way it plays out. And then you let the official
But you're asking
decide.
him to actually answer the bell.
I am.
Yeah.
I am. But you don't necessarily. This is me just.
That's not the guy who can answer the bell against Kyper.
Where we are today.
Yeah.
You don't have to fight.
Yeah.
But you have to look like you're in a fight.
You know who's going to be great for that?
Without like looking like
to the official.
To the principal.
Yeah.
To save my ass.
Yeah, you can wrestle a guy down or something.
In a school situation, right? You're not running to the principal.
See, Tampa Bay has these forwards.
Don't run to the official to say, okay, now, the way I've scripted this, now you're supposed to call one extra on him and I'm supposed to look like a hero in front of my teams drawing another penalty. That's not the way it works out all the time for you.
No, certainly not. But I do think it's going to be interesting because Tampa Bay has a bunch of these guys like him that want to go after the whistle. It's Reilly and Killorn and Hagel and Paul and the yap. And I can see Bunting having a lot of emotional investment in the game. But, he's not going to go fight Pat Maroon after that.
No, he doesn't have to.
No, he doesn't have to.
He doesn't have to. He just kind of holds his ground a little bit. And just watching the Rangers and Pitt on the weekend, and I'm watching Trouba do the Trouba thing, and I can't remember who he clipped in just about above the blue line, but then he gets challenged right away.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you don't have to fight, okay? You don't.
But he takes them all.
You don't necessarily.
Oh, yeah.
He's willing.
You don't have to run away, but you can just not have to fight, and it's okay. And if you want to engage in that as the aggressor, then you run the risk of taking an extra 2 minutes, and that's the way it should get called.
Yeah.
And then, but I don't know, there's a sense that you have to fight after a clean hit, and it's like, no, you don't. And this is me.
Yeah. That's an opportunity to take another penalty too, or to draw a penalty. If you hit someone clean, people want to come run and jump you and whatever. There's a chance to say, I don't have to fight. I'll take the 2 minutes on your dumb roughing
you know
penalty.
what? We'll do it a little later when I want to, or when we're
I'm a little tired right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Whatever the case is.
Yeah.
But you want to take the chance of trying to fight him, then you should be subject to a penalty.
Yeah. Agreed.
And that's what Bunting still has to learn.
Got to find it quick. He's been better. I thought he was pretty good Saturday, but yeah.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break. Craig Simpson's going to join us after the break. We're going to get more into that Saturday night matchup between McDavid versus Marner. That's for you, Sammy, with your dumb theory. That more after the break. We'll be back.
Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
All right, our next guest got to call the game Saturday night. With all that fun, let's bring in Craig Simpson, former NHLer, two-time Stanley Cup champion. Hockey night in Canada, Saturday night, full of star power. Hey, Craig.
That was a good game. Good to see both teams kind of flex their muscles a little bit, but I think, it had a good atmosphere. And we always like seeing a game where, especially on a Saturday night, good two Canadian teams is always special. Great players, best player in the game, one of the two of the good top lines in the game. And I don't think it disappointed. I think Edmonton will go home disappointed, letting that game kind of slip away from them. But I think from a fan's perspective, it had a little bit of everything.
Yeah, honestly, one of the most entertaining watches, I think, for fans for, going back some ways. Now, what were your thoughts on the one challenge for the Leafs? I hate to start on the negative note, but the goaltending wasn't awesome. Matt Murray's going to go back again tonight, which, depending where you sit on that, might be a good thing for him. But how do you feel about the Matt Murray showing and how it should affect the Leafs' plans going forward?
Well, I think what it's affected was a couple things. It's one of those games that, you could say McDavid's 5-hole goal, okay, that's one he should have had. But I could show you 15 other goaltenders that McDavid made look silly in that regard too. So,
yeah.
I think you can easily just examine and nitpick what was either good or bad. I think the reality is, getting those 2 points and watching what Tampa's done in the last little while with them sputtering along, I think is a big reason why for Sheldon Keefe you're going back with Murray again. You say you kind of got a feeling of knowing what you've got in Samsonov. I don't think there's going to be any question that, especially on home ice, Samsonov's going to be your guy to start out in the playoffs. And I think what's happened with Tampa sputtering and Toronto winning a game like that one where you're down by 2, winning in New Jersey at the end of a 5-game road trip when you're down by 1, just gives you the extra points to say, get the guy back in there, get him some games, get him some reps. And I think you kind of realize what you have. You can't overanalyze or hope that you'll create something else other than giving the guy a chance to play and hopefully play himself to a position that maybe he's got more confidence going into a situation as starting as maybe the backup or a guy who could come in when you need him to.
Craig, there's no question when it comes to Toronto fans or Edmonton fans, high expectations this year. It's almost as if it's Stanley Cup final or bust. While we all marveled at the individual talents of a Saturday night with the likes of McDavid and Marner and the rest of the group, but was there enough Saturday night where you said, regardless of the score, that both these teams aren't going anywhere unless they really clean up a few things? Or was Toronto closer to that cleanup with the exception of maybe Matt Murray?
Yeah, no, I think Toronto as a team, you just look at the underlying numbers. The fact that, okay, they're an offensive-minded team, 7th in the league in that regard, that can get you through. I think the key, though, is, top 7 defensively, too. And that's going to be the key. I think one of our graphics going in with Edmonton was in the last month and a bit, they're the highest scoring team. They've obviously got the best power play, which has been amazing. But they were 26th, 28th, and 28th in goals against, penalty killing, and save percentage. And I don't care how good McDavid is or how good Draisaitl. I think we saw last year, how much and how far those two could carry them, even with Draisaitl playing on one leg against Colorado, basically. But until you can be that good, solid, defensive-minded team in the playoffs, I don't think you're going and going to be able to find a way to get through that too far. So I don't think there's any question, Nick, that the Leafs are ahead of the curve in terms of comparing those two teams. That has been a big issue and big problem with Edmonton, and something that, even look at Stuart Skinner there. You could say the same thing. Campbell's sitting on the bench because he struggled over his last few weeks and up and down all season. And you could say in that game, how do you feel as an Edmonton Oilers fan with Stuart Skinner being your guy going into the playoffs? So, I think there are some question marks, but team-wise and collective defensively-wise, I think Toronto's ahead of the curve in that regard.
Just one follow-up on Jack Campbell. There's no question what a start would have meant to him facing the Toronto Maple Leafs, yet the two games that we just recently saw, he doesn't get a sniff. Is that just damning evidence on how much confidence the Oilers have lost in Jack Campbell?
I think it does, Nick, and it's one that's kind of a double whammy. You might look and say, okay, Jack, you try to build up his confidence in his game. You spend time with him in practice days and focusing on maybe your technique and all those things, but you know what a competitive player is, and you look at a couple of opportunities where games that you say, this will be my chance, give me the net again, let me go, and you don't get it. It might have been the case of as simple as Jay Woodcroft going, I don't know, I think the other guy gives us the best chance and we need these points. Or if I put Jack into this game and he struggles again, I might lose him completely. And so, you never know exactly what the decision-making process was there, but there's no question. I've talked to both you guys before about this of, a coach in the playoffs having to make goaltender decisions is the worst possible scenario that you can have. And I think if we're sticking to the Edmonton-Toronto mode, I think you might have that same scenario presenting itself for both those coaches.
God, such a good point that in playoffs, even if you make the right choice, you just don't want the coach to have to make a choice at all. Shouldn't be thinking about that. One thing they're going to have to make a choice on is they've gone 11-7 here, 3 games. And I think when the first time they did it, Keefe said he didn't love the idea of it. Now he's going, I don't know, maybe we find that's the best look for us. What are your thoughts on the likelihood of the Leafs going to 11-7 for real come playoff time?
Well, I'm sure he doesn't totally love it. There's positives and negatives, as you probably debated before. I think at times when you get on a good stretch offensively for your forwards, you can get more of your top guys into games and get them maybe sparked a little bit more. I just think it's totally hinged on the O'Reilly injury and then the additions on the back end. To have an extra defenseman in there now for 3-4 games in a row just gives opportunity to look at different pairings. I mean, I do think in some ways Tampa's little struggles have allowed you to maybe tinker a little bit more than saying, no, I can't leave it up to chance whether this works or not tonight. And so when you have that many defensemen sitting on the wayside, I think they've felt collectively as an organization they got to see what they got in a few. Gustafson played more than he ever had in the last game. You know what you've got in some of the guys. I think McCabe, they want to see, okay, who can he pair up with and look really comfortable with? And so I think it's more born out of the plethora of defense that you have and the injury to O'Reilly. If O'Reilly was in, I don't think you'd see them continue on the 11-7 route. But also look and say, okay, you come to Tampa and, you know, John Cooper's gone 11-7 a number of times. And, you know, maybe part of it is saying, you know, how do you put a lineup together? And maybe there's some advantage if you're going up against that similar kind of lineup to have it yourself. So you never know exactly what Sheldon's logic is, but I do think it's as simple for at least right now of just so many D that they want to get in the mix and not have three NHL defensemen every night sitting in the press box. And this is an opportunity to have a look at what matchups and what pairings might be able to work and have some success.
As far as the added grit and just the overall feel of the Toronto Maple Leafs, again, we witnessed it a little bit Saturday night. It is quite remarkable what the change has done for this organization in terms of now being a little bit more playoff-looking savvy, if that's a correct term.
Yeah. I mean, look at it just as simple as the style of play. And I think you heard Sheldon talk after that game glowingly of Nola Chara. And, my old partner, Jim Houston, when that first game happened, when the deal was done, his comments texted me during the game was, I love the addition of a Chara, because we lived it doing the finals in 2018 or 19, whatever, St. Louis, when they beat them. That fourth line just did so much during the playoffs. We did Boston all the way through that year. And, his comment was just how valuable that is, an asset it is. And you added a Chari's, 200-plus hits, Shen's 200-plus hits, McCabe 130. And all of a sudden you just look at the style of the team and the way that they can play a little bit differently, and it does change it. It's not necessarily going to guarantee a success, but you guys have watched enough of those difficult series where now you might have an answer, and now maybe you can be the one changing the momentum. And let's not kid ourselves. I mean, part of the folklore with the Leafs struggles has been losing in Game 7. Well, you've gotten to Game 7, so you're a good team. You're so close. You're a bounce away, and you hope that maybe these little elements will be the one that allow you to finish off instead of having to at least get to a Game 7. And I think the additions are fitting in pretty nicely.
They are. And, one of the mainstays is the guy I'm going to ask you about next, and Morgan Reilly. And not to be hard on him necessarily, just do you think he has to have an offensive element of his game to be effective, to be what the Leafs need him to be? Or can he strictly not produce but just be a reliable guy? What do you need to see from Morgan to be for the Leafs to win?
Well, if I look and say, okay, now maybe if you had McCabe playing more of a stay-at-home and maybe Brody playing in that role, who knows whether Luke Schenn can play every day in the playoffs or not. But you look and say you got a little different element that maybe I don't have to be relied upon to dig in my own zone and to break up the cycles defensively. I just think I look at it as it's been a frustrating year for him. It's been a year that you have a lower body injury and you maybe don't come back the same way. The puck's not necessarily going in for you after having, some pretty good offensive years the last while. My focus, if I'm Morgan Reilly, is get my body and mind ready for the first game of the playoffs. And I've always said the playoffs are the great reset of the year. It can rescue a terrible season. It can destroy a good season too. So if I'm Morgan, I'm more focused on, getting up in the play and joining the rush and making Matthews' line or Tavares' line that much more dangerous by being that fourth guy joining in, I think is what you're going to need from him at those critical times. But I think now you're going, erase the negative, because it has me. I don't think players listen to you guys or around, but even just watching him, it's been a bit of a more frustrating year. And I look at it as a breath of fresh air to finish the season off and start fresh in the playoffs. And I think his focus now is getting his body healthy and his legs good. And then I think you're right, Jason. I think he has to be a part offensively. Maybe that's the difference in a game that the elimination games that the Leafs have only scored 3 goals in the last 4 of them. Maybe that defenseman beating his guy in and jumping up and making the play might be the difference to win you that series. So I think it's going to be an important look come playoff time what Morgan Reilly looks like, and just get through to the end of it with trying to get your mind and body and your game up to a high level to be ready.
We know Morgan Reilly's doing an endorsement for pizza.
Poor guy. Come on, Pizzaville?
No. I don't know what it is. I honestly don't know what pizza company it is, okay. But I know that he didn't serve the biggest pizza of the night Saturday. That belonged to Ryan McLeod. Can you tell me, Simmer, when going up the middle of the ice, 3 feet in front of your own net became acceptable? Because I know where I would have been doing that when I played.
Yeah, you would have been planted. I can see Keenan wouldn't have had a keen sense on that one, would he, Nick? I think that another example of knowing who you're playing against too, and there's a challenge again of a third, fourth line guy who's playing a bigger role with Edmonton. just time of the game, danger areas, and making the safe play. And, that's where you kind of marveled how quickly the game turned around off of the stick of Mitch Marner. A couple of knockdowns that, 5 seconds later, you're right back into the hockey game, and 3 minutes later, you're leading it. And, those are lessons learned, and that goes back to being a ready playoff team, to know what the danger is, know what the risk-reward factor is. And you hope a kid like Ryan, who I actually really like, I think he's made a lot of good strides, and he's going to be important for them. And there's a lesson learned with, 15 games left till playoff time.
The Sabres team they're going to face tonight, they done? They got a chance here? Is there?
Well,
what do you think?
What a run for them, isn't it? Like they look like they were getting themselves into a position where they could get back and maybe make a run. But yeah, this stretch, 0-3-1, 1-5-1, and they, even if you could wrestle 3 or 4 points out of that 7-game stretch more, you'd be right there knocking on the door. But now they've brought, 3-4 teams into the mix as opposed to just having their sights on one. So as much as they've made great progress, they're another example, as you were saying, Nick, they can score goals, but man, they just defensively are inconsistent and haven't quite got to that level yet. And so tonight's a game for them that you have to be thinking, with 1 win in your last 7 and 7 points out with 4 teams in between. You got to win this one. A 3-game road trip against Washington, Philly, and then you have Boston coming up. So I know they'll give a good effort. They always play well against Toronto, or at least create a lot of excitement. But they were so close, and don't you think, much like Ottawa? You had those 5 wins in a row, and now you've lost a couple. It's so hard to keep that energy up when you're a team chasing 3 to 4 teams in front of you.
It's going to get real busy this week, Simmer. Buffalo, Colorado, Carolina, and then Ottawa on the weekend. You're going to be a big part of it. Always a pleasure to have you on our show. Thanks for doing this, man.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me on. Take
Thanks,
care.
Simmer.
Craig Simpson, the voice of Hockey Night in Canada for Sportsnet, does a terrific job. We love having him on the show.
Yeah, he's excellent.
Tonight is one of those games, although the Leafs have had great success against Buffalo this season.
Yeah.
This is one that will come back and haunt them if they don't look after business.
They can't handle the Sabres for some reason. I really thought the Sabres had a chance to get in. Like, I looked at Ottawa and kind of thought it was a long shot. But yeah, to Simmer's point, their last 7 games here, like, lost to Columbus, lose 7-1, they win a game, lost 3-2, lost 3-2, lose 10-4, lose 2-1. Like, you're not catching anyone when there's all those teams in between you and you're dropping games at this rate. So I'm curious to see, like, is the wind out of their sails? Is the 10-4 loss to the Stars the one that makes them go, not this year?
I'm calling my shot. Tonight, there will be an Austin Matthews, not fight, but close to fight with Dahlian.
Do you think he can get up for the Sabres?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I don't see it.
I do.
I just don't see it.
Listen, it's not calling a shot like I'm saying Matthews going to score a goal. It's
this is 140 to 1. How many games has he played? 500 to 1 odds.
This is going back to Rasmus. You're thinking?
Yeah, I think him and Dahlian are.
Is he playing tonight?
Yeah, he is. He's back in. He was running the top power play unit at practice this morning, so I think he's back in the lineup.
How about this stat from Sammy? Go ahead.
At what point do we not look at Austin Matthews and just say, this is the way he plays the game? He's about the skill, about scoring. He doesn't engage in that stuff, Sammy.
Yeah, he did.
You're just hopeful right now.
He cross-checked this man in the mouth last year.
Dahlian is on pace for 81 points.
You give me one example in 6 years?
Yeah, this guy. He's had disagreements with him in the past. Like, not cross-checking him in the mouth, but he hits him and they get into it. He hates him.
We all have our guy.
And it's
even
definitely
us guys who aren't tough.
Right.
It's definitely his guy, and I'm telling you tonight that something's going to happen.
Dahlian's on pace for 81
I'm holding
points.
you to it. I'm going to go to the game tonight.
I despise that.
I'll watch it right from the get-go.
Okay, Dahlian's 81 points would tie Phil Housley's 1990 season for the most points in a season by a defenseman in franchise history. His 63 assists would be the most by a D-man in a season in franchise history. Dahlian is having that kind of year. Franchise history points. Actually, probably a pace better than Matthews, I would imagine. Matthews.
Starting to come together with their core for sure.
The Sabres.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, you give them a full season of games. I like their odds a lot more than I do having a catch.
Levi, their prized goalie prospect, get knocked out?
You're asking a big ask there.
You're an NCAA guy.
I played there.
But we're going to see Craig Anderson tonight.
Yeah.
Clearly, that's run its course.
Yeah. I think they went into this season not intending to make playoffs and basically said, maybe we'll get a good pick. Like their goaltenders were Comrie and Anderson this year. Next year, maybe it's Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen and Devin Levi, and they're hoping one of these guys becomes the next Shesterkin. By the way, just try to say Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen and Shesterkin and not mess it up in the same sentence.
Ukko-Pekka
Not
Luukkonen, Igor Shesterkin. Okay.
UPL,
So
henceforth.
with Northeastern's 2-1 loss to Providence, Buffalo Sabres prospect Devin Levi could make the decision to sign with the organization. So they are out.
Ooh.
That's coming.
That's fun.
2-year deal.
Yeah.
Then these guys burn 1 year off and
Better for everyone involved.
negotiate after next year a new deal.
Yeah, you don't want the guy.
Pretty simple. Vancouver just signed their prize possession in the NCAA. I forget his name. But it's starting to happen
I got
now.
nothing. I tried to help you. I wasn't trying to be a jerk. I know
it's
nothing.
fine. It's fine. But I'm just saying it's starting now.
Yeah.
Which leads us to
How soon can Matthew Nyes lose?
They won yesterday.
The Gophers did?
Or a couple days ago, they beat
See,
Michigan
that
State.
one you would know.
Yeah, you'd have heard about
Right?
that for sure.
That one you would know for
Yeah,
sure.
That would come up.
But
So are they at the point though
they
in the
are-
season where if they lose, they're done?
Oh, yeah.
No. Are
Oh,
they?
yeah.
We're getting down to that.
and I think he's rated or voted. I don't know what exactly the call was, but most ready to play in the NHL, Matthew Nyes.
Yeah, you put up those kind of numbers and you're 6'3", 210 makes sense. You better be. You better be because Alex Steves is probably not. So Bobby McMahon's back. That's exciting.
Take a look at
He's
his
healthy.
goals down
Yeah.
in the minors.
Yeah, he's got 16 in his last 16 games or something. He's on fuego.
He's
He had a little
the
injury
Austin
hiccup in the
Matthews
middle.
of last year for the Marlies.
What a parallel. So the Minnesota, Matthew Nyes' next game is in the Big Ten tournament. They beat Michigan State on March 11th, so that would have been Saturday night. They beat them 5-1, and now they play the Michigan Wolverines.
in
with-
some sort of elimination contest.
I would imagine the Big Ten tournament is elimination. And then, so then isn't that Fantilli's team? Michigan. So
you guys
they-
are
yes.
really putting a lot of my
it
college
is.
hockey knowledge.
yeah. Fantilli, who played for the World Juniors, plays for them.
So
So
listen to
that'd be
me.
a real game.
From here on in,
If you can watch that one here.
Sammy, you are our NCAA guy.
So
I'm
what,
taking it out of the
I've been
hands
demoted.
of JB.
so,
I've
so
been
what I'm going to do
sending
is I'm going to text Nick Richard and ask him, and then I'll
Yeah.
and then I'll come on here. Text my boy Nick, who
I'm
knows all this
sending
stuff.
JB down to the under 16
Oh no, you're not going to be.
GTA
You're not going to make him
GTHL.
watch junior
Sounds
hockey.
like this is a good place to make some bucks. The
Oh,
GTHL.
ugh.
under
Anyone want to
16.
grease a couple palms? I'll promote your kids. I'm kidding. I'm not.
And on that note,
Yeah. We need to go to break.
Okay. Andrew Peters is going to help us tee up
criminals.
tonight's game on the Buffalo Sabres and what we can expect. Darlene versus Matthews. Sammy's calling it tonight. We'll get his thoughts on that and more. Andrew Peters after the break. You're watching and listening to Real Kyper and Bourne.
Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
All right, let's bring in Andrew Peters now, former NHLer. Big part of the brand new player cast on Sportsnet's YouTube channel. Buddy, you're busier than Biz Nasty.
Not really, man. I just left lunch with my brother, so that's not busy.
Wings? Buffalo wings?
No, you know what we did, man? We hit up the, you ever go to P.F. Chang's?
Oh, one of my favorites.
Oh, my God, I love P.F. Chang's. Thomas Vanek used to always want to go to P.F. Chang's in Boston because there wasn't one in Buffalo at the time. It's like, we're in Boston, man. There's so many great restaurants. We're going to P.F. Chang's, but we were only going there for the Sapporos.
Thomas Vanek, man, I hope he bought because he made a lot of money.
Oh, yeah. Conveniently, a lot of guys left their wallets at the room, back in the room when we went to dinner with Van at the table.
Nice. All right, so what do we expect tonight? A desperate Buffalo Sabres team here? Are there still thought that they can find a way to get into the playoffs?
So I was going to ask you, are you guys just licking your chops, absolutely ready to take advantage of a wounded duck? Because, man, I love the Sabres this year, but I think it's starting to fade away. You know, they're too far back, and now they're just playing for their pride and to keep it close. But I don't know, man. I never go against my heart. Like, I can bet with my heart, which is not good, but I got a feeling Toronto's going to wax the Sabres tonight.
Well, that hasn't happened very often. You know, and the anticipation, I think, in Toronto is that it's going to happen even less in the years ahead. Pretty good pieces being assembled there in Buffalo. What are the thoughts on what needs to come next for them to not just make playoffs, but do more?
Well, you need some depth guys, right? Like, look what the Leafs did. You know, you guys went out and you had your studs. You know, they're starting to establish their studs. I think they still have a few young studs that are a couple years away from being, you know, studs. How many times am I going to say studs in this segment? But, you know, the Leafs had all that. They tried to run the table with it, hasn't worked. And then look what they do. They go out and they grab depth defensemen, depth forwards. You know, they made a big move in net. And, I mean, that's kind of what the Sabres have to do. Maybe not to the magnitude that the Leafs did, but they need that. They need third and fourth line guys, or, you know, sorry if we're being politically correct these days, bottom six players. And you need a couple, you know, tough defensemen and goaltending. But I mean, they had a good run. They can make some life out of it. I just think the Sabres are done. I think they're too far back, but they have those 3 games in hand on the Islanders. So, you know, if there's a game that they can win to get them back on the rails, it's tonight. I just don't see the Leafs letting this one slip away. I don't. But who knows? Might catch them sleeping.
Tage Thompson, I think last time the Leafs played, didn't score. Is it as simple as if this guy has a great night, they got a chance? If he doesn't, they have no chance?
Yeah, but not quite to the McDavid, Draisaitl level. But, yeah, like I would say that if that top line in general doesn't produce, there just isn't enough secondary scoring on the Sabres. And they mix in some injuries, like, you know, Dahlin's banged up, Samuelson's out, you know, Tuck. There's talk of Tuck maybe being back tonight. But, like if that top line in general, Kyper, if they don't score, Sabres, they give up too many goals, man. They give up too much. They can score, but they give up. Like, look at the game where they lost 10-4. It's like you scored 4 goals. That should win you a game in the NHL. But it doesn't. So, or at least it doesn't when you give up as many as the Sabres do. So they need everybody to score. Unfortunately, that's kind of the position they're in.
So tell us about the exciting decor between Dahlin and Power. You know, what have those two been like this season compared to what Sabres fans have seen on their D in recent memory?
we talked about Darlene today on the podcast, and we were kind of discussing whether or not is he a Norris Trophy ballot guy this year, and that's what he's developed into. And Owen Power, he won't win Rookie of the Year. He may not end up on a ballot, but he should. I mean, he's having a really good year. Skates like the wind. Youthful, obviously, but that's your future on the back end right there. And the biggest question going forward for these two is how much are they going to make as a duo? We're talking about two guys that could be, $20 million on your cap between the two of them. If Darlene's at 10 and a half, does Power get to 9 and a half? Like your Werenskis or your Darnell Nurses or guys like that. So, or the other guy in Seth Jones in Chicago. So, that's your future. That's the future on D. Those are the guys to watch on the back end. But again, you got to build around them. Samuelson's hurt. Is Yoki Haru a top 4 defenseman, or do you need to go maybe in the off season grab a Colton Parayko, someone like that? But I don't know. Like it's like, what is the perfect recipe? You know what I mean? Like, it just seems like every year a different type of team is winning the cup, and it's just hard to figure out what the exact recipe is. But you got to get that core in place, and those guys are definitely a part of that, right?
We're talking to Andrew Peters, who covers the Buffalo Sabres. Petey, where is Owen Power's upside? Like, how good can he get? Can he get Hedman-like?
What is that? Is that 70 points? I mean, can we meet at like 55, 50, somewhere in there, 60?
I'm not even worried about the points, to be honest with you. I just meant, like, can he control a game like Hedman can when he's out there?
I think his skating ability can allow him to do that. If he develops properly, without question. He's like a gazelle, man, to steal the words from Craig Rivet. Like, yes, if that's what you're asking, then yeah, absolutely. Points-wise, I mean, if he's doing that, the points will come. But to what amount, I don't know. But control the game from the stand. I think he's a better skater than Darlene. Darlene's more of an elusive type, like mobile guy, where Owen Power can just pick up the puck and step on the jets, man, and he can start flying down the rink. So, Darlene's a little more, slippery. So I think Power could definitely turn into that kind of player. I mean, just because the Sabres are where they are in the standings, I like that you're bringing these guys up. They have a lot of great players to watch, a lot of young players too.
Yeah, so now just tell us about the goaltending situation this season and heading into next season, kind of what the Sabres have had and what they expect to have in the near future.
Oh, man, I don't know. Craig Anderson, bless his heart, he's 41, he'll be 42. Given everything he has for this team, can Comrie and Luukkonen do it? That Devin Levi, the stud kid from there's stud again, mark that one down. You guys should have a bell. From Northeastern, there's a lot of hype around this kid, and he just finished his college season. So, I guess around here, Devin Levi watch is in full effect. But, like, what's a college kid going to do for you fresh out of college? Like, I don't expect to have anything from him for at least a year and a half. So I'm not saying you won't see him in the NHL, but I mean actually like control and take control of the net. So I don't know. I mean, I think that could end up being the Achilles heel for this team for obviously this year, but then, probably next year if they have all their eggs in Luukkonen and Comrie. I hate to take away from those guys. They're obviously good goalies, but we're talking about being good goalies in the NHL versus being goalies that get you to the playoffs in the NHL. And I believe there's a significant difference. So it really would fall on the performance of Luukkonen next year and whether he takes that step into the level where he's projected to be. And I haven't seen it. He's had spurts, but not enough that makes me think like, oh yeah, this guy's definitely ready to take the reins by any means. So I don't know if they go and address that in the offseason or if they just continue to roll the dice on that one.
that surprises me that there isn't really overly optimistic sounds coming from you that this guy Levi is not the answer. And
Well, I'm not saying he's not the answer, Kipper. I'm just saying, like, when is he the answer? He's not the answer today. I mean, talk about pressure, but in 3 years maybe. But like, we're talking about a team that is like right on the big brink of the playoffs now, and if they had an elite goalie, they might be in right now. So it's kind of like it's frustrating from that aspect. I'm just saying, in a couple of years, that's when we see Levi, but not next year. I mean, if so, then he's amazing, but I just don't think that's realistic. So until we see that, I'm out on that theory.
Petey, I'll get your take on the Toronto Maple Leafs and kind of where they're at. Obviously, they made some big acquisitions and hope to be better suited for playoff hockey. Do you think they are?
I hope no one in Buffalo is listening to this right now. Okay.
Okay.
But because of our hatred for the Leafs here, but I'm a Canadian kid. I grew up in St. Catharines. I watched Hockey Night in Canada as a kid. Was raised by my father, Don Cherry, Ron McLean, Bob Cole, Harry Neal, and Orville Redenbacher. All right? And
it's a good lineup.
Elite lineup.
Listen, man, that's better than the starting lineup for the 92-93 Bulls. I want the Leafs to make a run. I love Shanahan. Like, I never have been really a Dubas fan, but I've loved what he's done. I've loved Sheldon Keefe ever since I played against him back in junior. I just loved the way he played, and I want to see the Leafs do well. Manny Malhotra's there. I mean, I want to see the Leafs succeed because I believe the NHL, obviously for the HRR standpoint, but the NHL is better when the Toronto Maple Leafs are good. And if they win this year, my theory for Matthews to Arizona is even stronger.
You got a theory? Can we hear it?
I'm not staying away from that one.
Yeah, I know. I got to drop that one every time I come on with you. You know what I mean? Because eventually, we'll find out what the truth is going to be. But I want the Leafs to do well, guys. I mean, it's just that's hockey. I mean, when the Leafs are on TV in the playoffs, it's nostalgic.
I don't know where you go from Orville.
Yeah, I don't go anywhere. I'm also a big supporter.
Well, listen, it's going to be interesting from here on in. I get your sense that you want a good goalie now, but the timing with Kevin Adams and the way he worked the trade deadline shows that he's crystal clear that our time is not now. So, to your point, you watch even Thatcher Demko in Vancouver, and he's turned into a pretty darn good goalie right now. There is a sense that these kids come out of NCAA and they can't get ready without having a good 3, 4, 5 years maybe in the organization. So,
Spencer Knight in Florida is an anomaly.
That one, you're right.
That's a unique circumstance, but there's one area where you don't want to be wrong, right? If you're taking your time and you're patient, and that's goaltending. So I like the approach because I don't think playoffs were realistic for the Sabres this year anyway. But it's just as that player feeling, you're sitting there going like, man, so close, and they wanted it in that locker room, right? So you're just sitting there saying like, I wanted it for the players more than anybody else. And then obviously the fan base, you're going on a baker's dozen years here with no playoffs. It sucks because it's such a great fan base,
Just one more from me, Petey, and that is like, I do like a lot of the things that Kevin Adams has done, but is there anyone in that fan base you just mentioned moments ago saying, if we had this Allmark, we'd be in the playoffs right now?
Well, I'm sure there are. And I mean, there you go. It's a lot of salt in the wound right there, Kipper. Way to go.
I owed it to you for Leaf fans for mentioning Matthews leaving.
Yeah. Well, listen, so here's the thing, right? I mean, they had a chance to sign Allmark. The time wasn't right. It just wasn't right. He wouldn't be doing here what he's doing in Boston. He's got the Bruins in front of him. He doesn't have a decent Sabres team in front of him. He's got the Boston Bruins, who are still in single digits, or they might have just passed 10. I can't remember, but the lowest losses in the league, and like he's a huge part of that. But I think the team in front of him is a bigger part of that than what he is. But I'm not trying to discredit him. I just don't think he'd be doing that here. So no, I don't think that Allmark would have been the answer, to be honest with you. But
all right, buddy. We really appreciate your time.
We'll never know. I appreciate coming on, guys. Love it. Love having you on.
Andrew
Bourne,
Peters.
Keep
Thanks, pal.
fighting the sober fight, man.
Appreciate it, Petey. Thanks so much, man.
Yeah, you got it, buddy. You got it.
We'll talk to you soon.
He's a riot.
Oh, he's the best. Yeah. Good teammate to us on the show.
It's just the math. The last time he came on, he traded Nylander for nothing. I love that he throws in that piss off Leafs Nation.
But it's also, there's the support of wishing them well.
Yep.
And then stir the pot.
throw a jab. Love it.
I
don't agree with him on Allmark. I think he has taken it to another level, and we'll never know what he would have looked like if he kept that trajectory for the Buffalo Sabres instead of Boston.
Yeah.
But he's a damn good goalie right now, and he'd be a damn good goalie on any team in the league.
It's funny. There's 10 starting goalies in the league, like legit number one guys, and he's one of them. They'll be looking for a guy like Allmark unless Levi becomes it or UPL.
I get they didn't want to pay him.
Yeah.
Right. He was already making good money, but he didn't have enough proof that he needed that next level $5 million a year.
Fun question that I had with Mike Fuda on last week was there's 32 teams in the NHL. So logically there's 32 number one D-men, but there's not. How many number one D-men do you think there are available in the NHL? You know what I mean by that?
Available?
How many number one D-men exist on this planet? Like true number ones. Because if you're the number one D-man on a bad team and you're, like Darnell Nurse is he number one? You think that low, eh?
8.
I suggested 20 and Fuda went with you and he thought lower. He thought 10 to 15, like number one. Run your power play, log 27 minutes, carry the play. Like we're talking, you're writing down Hedman.
Oh, that's the top of my list.
Yeah. It's Makar, it's Yossi, it's Fox.
Yeah.
Petrangelo. You'd have to go through.
St. Louis didn't think Petro was. They thought maybe Colton Parayko was more important.
Yeah. Did you do
Carlson?
McAvoy.
Who? Eric Carlson?
Yeah. You got to give it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. He's going to win the Norris, so I guess you should put him in there.
Ekblad? Did you say Ekblad?
Didn't say it, but
no.
I would.
Ekblad for me, no.
Okay, I agree.
No, not even close.
Carolina, Dougie Hamilton, is he one?
Yeah.
John Carlson, is he one?
Yes.
Okay.
Jake McCabe.
Sorry. Provorov. No, Montreal.
About 8 to 10, I
Dallas.
said.
Yeah, it's not it's an interesting, and so I feel that way about starting goalies where there's
Lindholm.
Number one?
No, I'm just saying
like a close.
Be number one on Toronto, I can tell you that.
Yeah, Josh Morrissey. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just not Drew Doughty. There's not that many.
Fox?
Yeah.
Did we say those?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Quinn Hughes.
Sorry. Quinn Hughes, yeah. Chikrin? No. Anyway.
No.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
But it's like how many superstars?
Also,
it's a Morgan Reilly conversation that I'm taking the back route at.
You need longevity on that too. You got to be able to anchor an NHL blue line for I think a few years before you truly get labeled as a bona fide number one.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because a lot of teams have a number one. Not so sure that they would be.
Yeah, like I said, Leafs do have a number one.
Yes.
Jake McCabe.
All right. On saying
Kipper
that.
won't even acknowledge it.
What's that?
Oh, you weren't listening. I was just saying
No,
that
I missed it.
that the Leafs do have a number one defenseman. His name's Jake McCabe.
I like Jake. I thought he was, excellent Saturday night.
Me too.
I love the fact that he is, he's willing to go and breathe on people in the neutral zone and just, hey, just be aware when I'm on the ice.
And pissed off at guys in front of the net.
He's done it. He's filled in for good Jake Muzzin.
He really has.
I like that his face looks like it's been hit before.
Yeah, he's got a face that's a little gritty face. 100%. I agree.
He does get the wobblies every once in a while, though.
He does tend to blow a shoe here and there.
He does. He can blow a wheel.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's just great. That won't come back to haunt them ever.
What?
News and notes. Let's start in the Atlantic Division.
Okay, Tampa.
Home of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And what we've been seeing lately out of the Boston Bruins and Tampa Bay. Boston loses to Detroit yesterday.
Oh, they clinched a playoff spot, by the way, Boston.
Okay, I got a bit of an issue when we start hearing stuff like the Boston Bruins and NHL history. You can't just blanket NHL history anymore with
3-point system.
Yeah, with a 3-point system and shootouts and 3-on-3. You just can't.
No, and same
Don't ever compare Boston's run this year to the Montreal Canadiens in like 1976.
Yeah, and not even that it's unfair, like maybe the Bruins are better, but it's just not an even comparison. It's tough to do that. Same with, I think the all-time Leafs points in a season record was like 104, 105. They had 115 last year. But
Pisses
it's like,
me off.
It
pisses me off.
Does it? Yeah.
When I hear, the most now in NHL history, you're not allowed to say that anymore. You have to almost say
modern history.
Modern history, salary cap history.
Yeah.
Because that's when the biggest changes came was post-salary or salary cap era. In the salary cap era, this is a new record for the most successful regular season in NHL history.
Yeah.
In NHL salary cap history.
I just looked up the Montreal Canadiens from 76-77, the record-setting one. They lost 8 times in 80 games. 60 wins and 12 ties.
None of those were in a shootout or overtime.
So how many?
They had 387 goals for and 171 against.
So how many wins is Boston because of the new system?
We could look that up for sure. I don't know.
Yes.
Well, they got 9 regulation losses, maybe 10. So
they have 10 regulation Ls.
So
and 5 OT losses.
Okay, so we're talking about maybe 6, 8 overtime wins.
Probably, yeah.
For an extra point.
There's actually a category in the standings, SOW, isn't it? Or
7 OT
shootouts
wins.
And wins. 7 OT wins. So that's between shootout and OT. 7 wins.
Comparisons only work when apples to apples.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's really tough. The same with...
They want to use history, but they changed history.
Yeah.
You can't have your cake and eat it too, NHL.
I'm annoyed by all the all-time NHL records that are being set and stats that were never recorded till 20 years ago. So all the guys who've been in the league 20 years, like Luke Schenn is the all-time leading hitter.
Disparage 2 great Leafs.
And Mark Giordano is the all-time leading shot blocker.
Yes.
Tell Craig Ludwig's legs that, Mark Giordano blocked more shots than him. Or,
How dare you?
Yeah.
Maybe no one counted back then because no one really cared.
Yeah.
Right?
It's about the team.
It wasn't that important to get credit on a blocked shot.
But
now we
want to
now we got to glorify
passes today.
Now we have to glorify it.
We're doing it here. We led the show with blocked passes today.
That's a pretty amazing stat, blocked passes.
That's a good stick, though.
It is a good stick.
Compared to shin pads.
Yeah, fair enough.
So yeah, I agree, Kyper. Boston, no good. No good. They don't deserve any accolades. I really appreciate that from you. They're not one of the best teams in history. They actually stink.
They've got to secretly, Montgomery or Sweeney, maybe Cam Neal, there's got to be a part of them saying, thank God we're losing now.
Oh, yeah.
Let's, come on.
And they're not even losing now. They've lost twice in 3 games.
They're 8-2 in the last 10.
There could be a part of you that wants more losses now.
Yes.
Just so they can just.
So I feel with injuries. Bring them on right now. Let's get everyone
something.
healthy before the playoffs.
Could there be a worse feeling going into the playoffs if they have zero adversity?
But I also don't
Is that
love
not a
Tampa
setup?
Bay. Tampa Bay right now is terrible. 3-5-2, 3 wins in the last 10 games. They just lost to the Jets. They lost everyone. The Flyers. They lose to everyone.
I think they're under 500 since February.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
Can we talk about how they just bounce back from seemingly career-ending injuries every time I'm watching them? Like I was watching the other night, and people are tweeting out, Hedman down on the ice.
Oh, no.
Oh, he's favoring his spine.
His spine.
Did Elliot Friedman start second intermission on Hockey Night in Canada with Stamkos going down as if like, hey, Leaf fans, keep an eye on this.
But
we could have an injury. Isn't that great?
He gets up from the injury and his leg's not connected.
Kipper,
it's flopping
he
around.
he was literally shaking his leg like he was doing a
There's
dance.
no ligament there. I thought
And
he was
there's
done
just
for his
the
life.
hope that, for Leaf fans,
Yeah, there's a
he's
hope.
done.
There
He's
is a
done.
hope.
It's
I'll
over.
admit it.
Get out of here.
I thought he was done. I was like, oh,
You've
he's
got
done.
2 cups. Have a seat the rest of your
And,
year.
oh, by the way, they won one of the cups with him playing one shift.
2
So
minutes
it's
and
like
39 seconds he played. Sniped.
Yeah, he scored. That's legendary.
It is legendary.
And it was a really nice goal. Along the goal line, went top shelf. The Lightning still, to me, they're like zombie Lightning.
I've been watching.
Oh, yeah. I know
I've been
you
watching Lightning almost every night I can.
They're still
So good.
Really, even when they lose, they're really good.
I don't buy this for a second. Not for a second. I watched them down 3-1 to whoever it was. Is it Vegas? Tic-tac-toe, 6-on-5 goal. Tic-tac-toe, 6-on-5 goal. They just turned it up.
They have unbelievable chemistry when they have the puck in the zone.
Kucherov on the flank is the scariest player in the league.
He's got
in
that slap
status.
pass, shot, fake thing down better than anyone in the league. It's
And
so good.
He executed that one against Vegas after ripping one off
Yep.
the post and hitting it. He'll hit it.
Yeah. That's
which
the thing.
he
He's
did
got a
against the
one-time.
Leafs in playoffs last year.
Yeah. Yep.
So anyway, my point is not buying the Tampa Bay Lightning struggles.
God, there's just has to be a part where there's just like it catches up to them. We're not allowed to say that anymore.
No, I know. No, that's
Where
allowed.
you just go, come on, they're tired. They have to be
They've been on
tired.
all
Aren't
the
you
runs,
sick of this?
aren't you?
Just be
golf.
old.
Yeah.
Be old and bad 1 year. Like play like
Yes,
crap.
be selfish.
Play like
You know
crap.
what the problem is they play in Florida.
Yeah.
So they're not looking forward to going to
No,
Florida.
they get to play golf every day.
Like the
Yeah.
Leafs.
Yeah, they get to play golf whenever they want. Sickening.
Sickening.
And they got John Cooper, who's like taking the time for the kid in the press conference. I'm like, oh, this guy. Like he's a good guy too, and he's great with the media. I'm like,
Oh,
he's
it's
got to
just
be.
a
He's got to be
setup.
like
Boys,
that
can
too.
it fall apart? Could it really be that we're talking ourselves into Tampa Bay and maybe they're just not as good as they were and they are struggling and they are going to just be
What do we have left?
ripe for the picking?
What do we have left to think? There's nothing else to think.
I guess just
Except-
that they're playing possum.
That's it.
Because they
got
haven't been
15
winning
games
very
left.
much.
They got 15 games left.
They got this week. They got at New Jersey.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. There'll be 2 brawls.
Can they fall out of the standings? Can someone catch them?
No.
We just had
Close to Buffalo.
we had
Or Ottawa, sorry.
We had Petey just moments ago talk to us about Buffalo being out of it. Did we just watch the Ottawa Senators
Yeah, not a great road trip.
cash out their playoff hopes?
Yeah, they did. This has been the thing the whole way is that like they win. And people go, they're only 2 back. They're only whatever back. They're only whatever back.
There's
it's
no
like,
room for error.
yeah, there's no room for error.
Like at all.
You're going to lose a few contests when you're a team of Ottawa's true talent level, -5 goal differential team.
Tough losses though, eh? Vancouver and Calgary last night.
And not just like kind of got beat
Not
by
in it
They
and
got
just-
pumped
they did.
from what I saw. Yeah. I mean, it was not a great effort. You can't do it all the time. As we said, the Boston Bruins just lost to the Red Wings and who was it? The Oilers? Yeah.
So there's still 15 games to go, 16. What
Yeah.
is the
They got to go.
What is the cutoff on true like meaning? The term meaningful games. We're playing meaningful games. It sounds really good when you say it.
Yeah, it's like
But where is that? Where's the cutoff line? Like so Ottawa is now 6 points out of the Islanders.
Yeah.
With 2 games in hand on the Islanders. So technically, you think that a bad Islander week and a good Ottawa week can get them back in it.
Right.
But, like,
there's teams between them for one, right? Florida and Washington, too.
Does that mean they're still playing meaningful games or it's over?
Well, yeah, it's not over, but, people look at that and they say that they're 2 games behind the Islanders. So they win those both. They're only 2 points back. Their winning percentage is .530. They're probably going to get about half of their available points or a little more.
So look at their schedule. I don't think it's getting any easier for the Ottawa Senators.
No,
I think there's Colorado in there. There's the Leafs in there.
I know their
there's
schedule's
Edmonton in there.
Tonight, Oilers. Tomorrow, Avalanche. Next, Maple Leafs. Then the Penguins. Then the Bruins.
Then Tampa.
Then Tampa Bay.
Then New Jersey.
Then New Jersey.
Florida.
Night.
Yeah, it's over. No more meaningful games. You'll always have old Chikrin's grandpa drinking the coffee, guys.
They're playing meaningless games.
Meaningless games. I just wanted to circle back because we were talking about Nyes.
Yeah.
And I did some texting and I did some reading while we were in the
homework.
breaks. I did. So the game on Saturday against Michigan is the Big Ten Finals. So that's to win their region, the Big Ten.
Okay.
If they win that, or if they lose that, they're still in the tournament.
Yeah.
So there's a 16 teams tournament, the regionals, which start March 23rd. And that becomes single elimination.
And they're probably a 1 seed.
They're going to be a 1 seed for sure, regardless of if they win against.
So they're going to draw the zigzags in round one.
Yes, they're going to draw. So they'll be winning 1 game. And then, so that's March 23rd to 26th. And then the winning team from each of the 4 regionals will advance to men's final Frozen Four in Tampa, Florida on April 6th and 8th. So there we go.
So we need them to not advance out of their bracket.
Yeah, the ideal scenario
Nyes.
for Leafs fans. Well, maybe if you don't want to pouty Nyes, maybe you'll stay 1 more year if they lose. But
Not a chance.
okay. So yeah, if you maybe lose in the regional final at some point, to not go to the Frozen Four.
And how long does the Frozen Four last?
April 6th.
Like a
and 8th.
weekend?
Yeah, April 6th and 8th. The national championship takes place on April 8th,
So
which
he'll
I
get-
believe is a Monday, right?
Even if he goes and
Sunday.
finishes, he'll get at least a week.
Yeah.
What's their schedule? What's the Leafs schedule past April 8th?
We've looked it up. It's to Florida,
Yeah.
which is perfect. I mean, if they're in Florida for the regional final, for the Frozen Four, then they can go down and play Tampa and Florida back to back.
Perfect. You can get a round of golf in. You can relax.
Go to
get
a
ready for game
Springsteen concert.
Have a
and
Mai
come
Tai.
on and show up,
Springsteen.
just
Hopefully
like the
they're
boys
done
were in
COVID.
Edmonton. Yeah. Florida, Tampa Bay, New York Rangers to end the season for the Leafs. Good thing those games won't matter. That's a heck of a finish.
Yeah. I think both those games probably won't matter.
What do we make of
No
the
chance.
Patrick Kane so far in the New York Rangers?
I believe the guy on I Think You Should Leave said stinky.
Bad.
Stinky.
Bad.
Not good. Not good results, Kipper. I mean,
You know what else is going on too is the media's all over them for availability of guys.
in New York.
Yeah, the goalies, I guess, weren't available on the weekend. I think our friend Larry Brooks wrote that, are you protecting them? Are you hiding them? I don't know what's going on.
Well, what's with protecting these grown men? I know Spector on Sportsnet was writing about how the Oilers after that game sent out like Nugent Hopkins and Hyman, didn't want no McLeod, no goaltenders, no, none of the people you'd want to ask questions to. So I don't know. It's overprotection from PR people. To me, it's doing damage to the product and the enjoyment of fans, which is what this is at the end of the day.
You've been around long enough. You can go out there and just generalize and
We come on here and say nothing half the
cliches.
time.
cliche them to death.
Yeah.
We talk for 2 hours about nothing every day.
Yeah. It's a show about nothing.
No,
they could
you
talk about
do.
Yeah.
Got me between the eyes, Kippy.
So yeah, it's Oilers this week. It's Sabres tonight. It's Colorado and then Carolina. Big week. 3 very offensive teams. Yes.
Oh, and we have one more clip that I wanted to bring up.
Oh.
It's from the Smartless podcast. We're promoting another podcast on our podcast.
It doesn't need promoting. It's doing
it's
just fine.
legitimately the most popular podcast in the world with Will Arnett, who's a diehard Leaf fan, of course.
Yeah.
Of Arrested Development fame, BoJack Horseman fame. They had Al Michaels on, who is, the legendary play-by-play announcer. Do you believe in miracles? if he had this to say about the Toronto Maple Leafs. So I just wanted you guys to hear it, okay?
Yeah.
Will and I both know that hockey is fantastic. And I'm sorry we had to take, the gold medal and even though Canada may have had better players at that time.
No, I don't want
to.
to.
But Will, sooner or later, your ship's going to come in. The Toronto Maple Leafs will in our lifetime win a Stanley Cup.
Yes,
could be this year.
That's been you're in a desert right now, but I'm feeling the oasis. Will maybe this year.
Now that Shanahan's up, in charge.
There you go, guys.
Now, Arnett is a Shanahan boy. They're pals, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I've tried really hard to get him on the show.
Who's
Shanahan, that'd be great.
No, Will Arnett.
that? Oh, we'll get him on.
Do you know him?
Can he come on as BoJack Horseman for the whole episode?
Oh, you know him.
Or Job?
All right. we'll get him on.
Okay. Get him on to start the playoffs.
All right. That's my mission.
Yeah. That would be wonderful.
Producer Kippy. It's so funny that Toronto's like the most popular hockey team in the world, probably. And I still feel so excited when Al Michaels mentions them.
I know.
So stupid. I'm like, oh my God, they're talking about the Leafs.
That's us. Like,
Do you have that call?
sound.
Can you get that call in before we go off air?
Do you believe? I got it for you. Do you believe in miracles?
Oh my God, that's
Yes.
so bad. So bad.
I thought he nailed it. 10 out of
I
10.
thought it was perfect.
Yeah.
Now, what was the deal? Was that live? Was that to tape, or was that an actual live call? You weren't even born.
No, I've seen it. I don't know. I don't know how they would have done that.
What's the official word on that?
I don't think they did it remotely.
John
like
Shannon, he knows everything on that.
No, I think wasn't it? It was a tape delayed.
With Ken Dryden.
What was he? What do you
He
mean?
was color commentating, I think.
Was he?
Yes, with Al.
Guy's done it all.
Wow. No, I didn't know that. So there you go. I think it was tape delayed though. So
All
there
right.
you go. A lot of stuff was tape delayed back in the day when we didn't have access to every
What do
single
we
thing.
call it tonight? Petey says they're going to crush Buffalo tonight. 5-1, 6-2.
Yeah, I'm due for just a really biased. So I have called a couple of wins for the Leafs here over some pretty good teams. I think he's right.
Matt Murray pitches a shutout. That'll just really
complicate things.
Really
That's what's
confuse
happening.
everybody.
4 spit tonight, Leafs.
4-3 Sabres in overtime.
Oh, why would you ruin our show like that?
And
It wasn't even about that comment. That's a general question.
I just think the Leafs haven't had a stinker against the bad teams in like a week, so it's about
They
time.
lost to the Canucks last Saturday.
That's what I mean. It's been about a week.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
it's about time. I could see them losing tonight, and then Dahlin and Matthews get into some sort of disagreement tonight.
They lose tonight, and yeah, it's no good. It's no good. We're right back to square one.
No. And hey, Leafs
Square
talk.
two.
Leafs talk tonight. Me and JD after the game, live on YouTube.
Exciting night. Love when there's hockey. Leafs hockey.
All right, just like that, wraps up another 2 hours where we solved nothing on the Real Kyper and Bourne show. But we had a few laughs. Craig Simpson, Andrew Peters, thanks for coming on the show. All of you, continue to support us. Love having you along for the ride. Give us a rating and review if you get a chance. We'd love to hear from you. We're getting some great feedback, and it's all because of you. Thanks, everybody. Have a safe night. We're back tomorrow.